Hi, I'm Melanie from Nova Scotia, Canada, and this is Adventures in Groceryland. This is week 1 meals of my $25 grocery budget challenge of 2025. Check out what I was able to make with the groceries that I purchased for this challenge. I had some really great meals. I did fantastic, way better than what I was thinking. And stay tuned to the end of the video. I will upload also what I have left that is now the beginning of my pantry that will carry forward into future weeks. One of the first items that I processed was my oatmeal. I wanted oatmeal for breakfast, but I also need oatmeal for in the bread recipe that I intend to make with the flour and the yeast that I bought. So I have 4 little containers here. So like think of these as if you're buying Quaker instant oatmeal in the packages. That's what these are for. And this is 1/3 of a cup of oatmeal, which is the exact amount that I needed to make a half a loaf of bread. I also need to process these carrots. They have spots on them, and of course the ends are not in good shape. These look a lot better now. And I've cleared out one of the crisper drawers just for my stuff, and these can go right in there. This is what I got for the 62 cents. I got 9 bananas. These 4 are okay and can go in the fridge as is. These 5, so you can see that they're getting smushed. This one, the top has come off. Actually, the top is off pretty much all of them. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do about those. I mean, if I eat 2 of them right away, that'd be fine. But I think the other ones need to be frozen. And how I freeze them, I'm not quite sure. The very first thing I need to do with some of the squash is cook it. I've been kind of had it in my mind that I was going to make squash soup. I know most people don't make squash soup out of spaghetti squash, but guess what? I have lots of spaghetti squash, and so I'm going to make some squash soup. This was extremely difficult to cut, as you can see. Oh, challenge fail number 1. This is 3 of the largest of the squash. I am going to drizzle this olive oil. It's 1 of the carrots. I'm going to roast these before making the soup. I'm going to add salt and pepper. I just sprinkled on some of the basil as well. Now let's get this in the oven and then get some breakfast. I needed to get this started because I want to eat lunch at actual lunchtime. So if I want to have soup, the ingredients have got to be cooked. This was my softest banana. I'm going to eat this with breakfast today. And the other 4 really soft bananas are in this container, and I'm going to freeze them. Set that aside. I am going to mash this, and then I'm going to add yogurt and a little bit of brown sugar, and I'm going to have banana flavored yogurt for breakfast. This looks really good. Let's get some yogurt. I think that's plenty. That's plenty. A little bit of brown sugar. And a little sprinkle of cinnamon. Here we have banana yogurt with cinnamon for breakfast. That was so good. Way, way, way better than what I was expecting. I feel very satisfied, and someone else is thinking that smells really good and I want some, but he's not having any. So I've got the squash and carrots out. They're looking really good. They're actually, it's getting soft. And I decided to add some onion. So this is half of my small onion. And I'm going to put these back in to continue roasting. And I might put a little bit more seasoning on right now. I totally forgot until just minutes ago that when I was looking up recipes for squash soup, because surprise, I've never made squash soup before, so I'm doing a challenge and just randomly decide to make it for a huge portion of meals on week 1. And several of the recipes actually had had apple in the recipe. So I just quickly peeled apple and threw it on here, and we'll get these back in the oven. I am going to make some bread. I'm going to use my preferred recipe, which is the oatmeal, and I'm going to make a half of a loaf. I don't have any butter or margarine on this challenge, but I have these 2 little things, so I'm going to use those. So far, 6 ounces of water, salt, tablespoon of honey. I just eyed that. I didn't measure it. It says 3/4 of a tablespoon of butter. Well, I just threw in those 2 little things. 1/3 of a cup of oats. Now let's get the flour and the yeast in here. The recipe calls for 3 1/4 cup of flour, so I added half of that. Calls for 2 teaspoons of yeast. I added 1. Let's get this going. I need to get this chicken cooking so that I can get the broth from it. I need the broth for the soup that I'm making for lunch today. So I guess that means I'm going to have some kind of chicken for supper tonight and probably freeze the rest of the chicken cooked, I guess. I just took the chicken out. I'm going to add the squash, apple, and onion into this, and then I'm going to use my immersion blender. This is what it looks like before blending. Hopefully this tastes pretty good when we're done. It smells good. I actually decided to get out the actual blender. It might make less mess. So far, this is what we've got. I'm glad I was holding really tightly onto the lid. Like I had my hand on it like this because the force of the blender almost shot the lid right off. I'm glad I was holding on. So this time, it actually did. Oh my. Challenge epic fail number 2. I am pretty darn pleased with how this turned out, even though I have a bird now where that exploded out. That's okay. We're going to try this and see how it tastes. Lots of soup. This will be some wonderful lunches this week. I'm going to make supper using a part of this box of mac and cheese with a part of the white cheddar sauce. I'm definitely going to use some of these tomatoes from the garden, and I'm going to peel the chicken off of this thigh and use the chicken. I might put mushrooms in it too. I haven't decided. I have 1/3 of the package of macaroni in the pot. I cut up the chicken or diced it. I'm also going to add 2 pieces of kale diced up from the garden. All right. I'm going to add in the tomatoes. A couple didn't make it in there. I added in a little pinch of my cheese. I sprinkled in a small amount of the cheese sauce. Supper is a tomato, chicken, macaroni casserole. 1 pot meal. I topped it with a little bit of pepper. A little bit of a smaller meal than what I would normally make because I'm full. I ate a really large breakfast and I don't usually eat breakfast. The soup that I ate at lunch seemed really filling, and I had the bowl that I videoed, and then I had a little bit more because it was so tasty. And now I'm full and not wanting a massive big supper. The bread turned out amazing. Look at this. Oh, it's still very warm. Perfect little half loaf. Yay. This morning, we are going to have apple cinnamon oatmeal with brown sugar. Yummy. I'm just going to use half the apple. a full apple is not necessary. It's way too much food for me. All right, the apples are chopped fine. One-handed always makes a mess. I do need to get one of those little ring camera stands. All right, let's boil this. I didn't measure any specific amount of water. I just put some water in. Cooking away here. Getting to the consistency I like. Maybe a tiny bit heavy-handed on the brown sugar today. That's okay. And a little bit of cinnamon. Tons of squash soup. It was really good. I'm storing it in not a pot in the stove, so I'm just going to microwave reheat today. And maybe actually get some basil from the garden as a garnish. That would be great. Oops. And today, it wasn't ready yesterday when my soup was done for lunch, I have, oh, this feels so perfect. This is like the perfect little loaf. I actually think that my half loaves turn out much, much better than my full loaves in the bread maker. I don't have any butter. And I'm debating, do I just eat this as fresh bread with the soup, or do I toast it? Decisions. Some days I'm so fancy, I can't even get over myself. Squash soup garnished with basil. And I'm having the bread untoasted, just regular bread. Flour, water, oil, and salt, that was already mixed in the water, is what we need to make tortillas. That's what we're going to make. So far, I got 2. There's going to be 5 total. And I am going to be making egg and sausage breakfast burritos for supper for 2 nights, tonight and tomorrow night. I'm going to dice up some potatoes for little mini hash browns, and I'm going to make them in the air fryer because I'll need less oil. I just toss in a tiny little bit of oil, and then my basket will continually turn them around. If I fry these on the stove, I'll need a lot more, and I don't have more. I put back 2 of the potatoes. This is plenty for 2 nights, actually, more than plenty for 2 nights. And I'm just going to do like a little blurb. That's plenty. I would only use about a tablespoon if I was making fries. For in the sausage and egg burritos, I also have a little bit of onion, a little bit of pepper. And this is, yes, jalapenos from my garden. I'm probably going to regret that, but I'm adding it in anyways. This is how the tortillas turned out. I've just got them folded under a cloth to stay warm. I'm doing 2 sausages because I am making enough tonight for 2 meals. Well, whether I eat it tomorrow night or the night after that, I want to make enough for 2 suppers. And I think I'm going to do 3 eggs. Maybe 2 sausages was too many. This looks like an awful lot. Eggs in. Once it cooks a little more, I'll mix it in with the rest of the sausage and the veggies. All right, this is what we got. Hash browns, they turned out so good. Salsa's a free item for me. I've made several batches that I preserved this year. And I don't have any other cheese besides the curds, and I don't want to use that. So we'll just do a tiny little bit. And so these are burritos, so just think of it like, ta-da! We'll get this second half of the apple used up this morning, so we're going to do oatmeal with brown sugar and cinnamon again. Today I'm getting smarter, and I'm putting the cinnamon mixed in with the oatmeal. There. Yummy. Soup today, squash soup, topped with pepper, and a little bit of parsley. Homemade bread again, untoasted. I didn't think about it last night, but I have green onions still growing in companion growing with some of my tomatoes. And so I was able to garnish tonight's burritos with green onions. These look great. Excited. Today and tomorrow for breakfast, I am going to have smoothies. We are going to use banana, so half today, half tomorrow, yogurt, milk. I'm also going to add in some Swiss chard from the garden as a greens boost. And you see this is some of the honey that I have, and you may be wondering what this is. This is homemade jam, so an item that is free to me. This is Huscap jam. I made this a couple years ago, and I'm just going to add this in for a little boost of color and flavor. Smoothie. Squash soup for lunch again today. I will say this soup is really delicious. I am really enjoying it. I've never had spaghetti squash before. I've never made squash soup before. For some reason in my mind, I had gotten confused and thought that I had 10 pounds of butternut squash. And when I opened up the bag, I was like, oh, can I still make soup with this? And I Googled it, and a bunch of people said yes. So I just randomly made it. Some of the recipes showed carrots. Some showed onions, some showed apples, some showed red pepper. So I just put in what I had, blended it up. Of course, you saw that explosion. That was bad. The handsome one tells me if I would have let it cool a little bit more, it wouldn't have exploded like that. So I guess that's always a learning point for next time to prevent burns and messes. And today I only have it topped with salt and black pepper. It's really good. I'm really enjoying it. It's very hearty. This is part of the Swiss chard that I have. Let's see, tomato plant, but part of the Swiss chard. And I've got more in a different container out front. This area still has some tomatoes. Yes, I know it's October, but I still got some tomatoes. And we companion planted, like there's basil, oh, there's more dill. So I've got green onions in there, parsley. So I do have some things that's still benefiting me, but it's not going to benefit me for too much longer. I know that. Got a couple tomatoes starting to turn in there that I got to grab. There's peppers still in here. I'm going to pick this one right now. Oh, look, I got 3 there. We're inside the greenhouse. It's a little warmer for things in here. This is just a plastic zipper greenhouse. For supper tonight, I am going to make spaghetti. I have onions, mushrooms, peppers, Swiss chard, and I'm going to use the stalks of the Swiss chard. I've been saving these. These were, like I used these in the smoothies. And I'm going to cut these like celery stalks. I have 3 sausages left, but I'm only using 1 sausage in the meat sauce. And then I'm going to freeze the other 2. I do not need that much in there. So this is 1 sausage, peppers, mushrooms, onions. The Swiss chard stalks that I'm using in lieu of celery. I've got lots of Swiss chard. I'm just not going to cook it in the frying pan. I will cut the Swiss chard up and I'll put that in with the sauce, or maybe at the very, very end of the stuff cooking in the frying pan. Looking good so far. I chopped everything up. Let's get this all stirred together. Let that Swiss chard slightly wilt. And I'm going to put the water on for the spaghetti and also get a pot together for the sauce. You know what I don't have and I'm sad about it? Garlic. Okay, we have the Fine Herb Garden Select. I'm going to be not super generous with this. I want to see how much do I actually really need and what can I save. So I'm going to stir this in. This is what I've got. I'm uncertain if I should add a little more actual sauce to this or not. This is pretty thick, but that means it'll be very hearty. I like very hearty. Now I'm going to add some spices. I'm going to add basil, what I think is oregano, and some celery. I'm going to add just a little bit more, just a tiny bit more. The plan was to make enough that I get 2 suppers out of it. So tonight and tomorrow night for sure. Both, you know, substantial, hearty servings. I'll probably load up on the sauce because it is very hearty. And I've cut this bread. I kind of had an idea that maybe I could make some kind of cheese bread. Well, of course, I would love to have garlic cheese bread, but I don't have any butter and I don't have any garlic. So that's on a wish list. This is my big plan. This is what I could come up with. I've got a little bit of olive oil in here, and I'm going to just brush it on. This will take forever, so I'm not going to video the whole thing. All right, this is what I got. And I got a little bit of the Parmesan, and we're going to do some of the curds. Okay, this is 4 cheese curds that were moderate size and 1 really tiny one. And I sprinkled some parsley on top. I did sprinkle a little bit of the Parmesan on there. Let's get it in the oven. These turned out much better than what I was expecting. Hopefully they taste as good as they look and smell. Spaghetti and cheese bread for supper. Very exciting. And I made the exact same thing, just pre-prepared for tomorrow night as well. I almost forgot. Of course, I'd like to have like 10 times as much cheese, but I only have a little bit of cheese, so we're spreading it out. I've got everything packaged up, leftover-wise, and I'm just going to pop this in the freezer. Yesterday I didn't have any brown sugar in my smoothie, but I rethought that today and I'm going to have some. Smoothie. Squash soup for lunch today. I am going to freeze the rest of the soup so that I can enjoy some squash soup next week or the week after. Leftovers for supper. How could I not be looking forward to this? So exciting. I just love spaghetti. Breakfast today is going to be oatmeal, apple, cinnamon with brown sugar, or apple, cinnamon, oatmeal with brown sugar. I'm again going to use half the apple today, and I'll have the same thing tomorrow. I'll use the other half of the apple tomorrow. Apples, oatmeal, a little bit of water, and get this turned on. Adding in a little bit of cinnamon. I'll add a little bit of milk and then we'll be good to go. Yummy. The other night I made a 1-pot supper, chicken casserole, and I'm going to have the leftovers for lunch today. And interestingly, I only made 1/3 of the box of the macaroni and cheese that I'm used for the base, and just with all of the added things in with it. Like that was supper, plus it's gonna be my lunch again today. Lunch. I'm gonna make a simple but delicious supper tonight, a favorite of mine. We're having poutine. Yay. I've cut the potatoes. I have tossed them in a little bit of olive oil. I'm gonna get them in the air fryer now. I'm making half the pack of gravy. Put the burner on. So the pack calls for 1 cup of water and you use the package. So I use 3/4 of a cup of water and half of the package, and I'll do the same again when I make the other half. 3/4 of a cup of water and half the package. Looking great. These turned out fantastic. Extra fantastic. Love them. I broke the cheese curds up a little bit. It's smaller because some of them were really large pieces. All right, it's gravy time. Although a poutine can have just shredded cheese, a standard poutine or like an original Canadian poutine would be made with cheese curds. This looks amazing. We're just going to let this melt a tiny little bit. And then we're going to eat it. So great. Fabulous. Gotta love a poutine. Gotta love cheese curds for 50 cents. That was just pure craziness. Apple cinnamon yogurt. Oatmeal, not yogurt. Apple cinnamon oatmeal for breakfast today. And this is the other half of the apple that I used yesterday. This looks great. And now I am fully out of oatmeal. Today I'm having an almost totally free lunch. I'm going to use this cucumber that we picked from our garden, cut this up, cut up some tomatoes, a little tiny bit of onion. I'm going to throw some cheese, really small, like I'll cut them up really small cheese curds in with it. We'll stir it up. We'll drizzle a little bit of olive oil on top and throw in a little bit of the spices I have. I was thinking maybe dill. Maybe dill would be nice. I almost forgot about the green pepper I picked the other day. Do a little bit of this. All right, this is what I've got. I've got everything in here already. I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir. I am going to also top it with some salt and pepper. This is going to be great. I think it's great to use what is available to you. Growing a garden absolutely helps me increase my buying power because anything that I grow myself, I don't need to buy in the store. For supper tonight, I'm going to make tuna casserole with the rest of this mac and cheese. So I'd used a third of the box or a quarter of the box. I can't remember, not half, earlier this week. I'm going to grate some carrots. I'm going to use some Swiss chard. And I'm only going to use about half of the can of tuna. All right, let's get started. Grating carrots is always a little messy. Cooking away. I've got the noodles, the grated carrot, the diced celery stalk. I've been thinking in my mind now is celery. The diced Swiss chard stalks. And just before I'm ready to drain it, I will quickly cut that up and stir that in. Kind of at the last minute, I decided to put in a mushroom because that'll be good. I mean, it's the last day. That'll be good. And I still have mushrooms left. It's the last day of week 1 is what I mean. Tomorrow I get new groceries. I almost just made a fatal error. I almost just drained the tuna. I hardly have any groceries. I'm definitely saving the tuna juice. I don't know what for, but I'm saving it for something. Swiss chard is in. I added in the half a can of tuna, the rest of the package mix. I'm going to add in some milk and get to stirring this. This looks pretty darn good if I do say so myself. Let's get her in a bowl and eat up. It smells good. Supper for tonight and leftovers for another meal. Week 1 is over and it's pretty crazy what I have left. It was a phenomenal beginning to a $25 challenge. So I have eaten 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and supper for 7 days. I spent $25.03. That was a mishap. Everybody knows about that. $25.03. And I have this much left over. And I feel that what I ate was awesome. So We've got flour, yogurt. This is leftover tuna casserole. This is leftover tuna. Brown sugar, carrots, half a package of spaghetti, milk, and there's well over a half of the milk left. Potatoes, squash. This is spaghetti sauce that was left over that I froze. This is the bananas. There were 4 bananas that I froze that were in real bad shape. In there are 2 chicken thighs. They're already cooked and ready for me to use them in whatever I want. In this container, there's 2 sausages, so I didn't take them out of there. I could have, I just left them in there. This is squash soup. So you can see I froze them in bricks. Those are perfect serving sizes. Actually, they're over generous serving sizes for our bowls. The soup was delicious. I've got 3 unfrozen bananas left, 4 apples, an onion, the small piece of cabbage I didn't use. I've got a little bit of mushrooms. I've got this much spaghetti sauce. I used more than what I thought I was going to use or what I intended to use. It was really good though, so well worth it. So that much spaghetti sauce, it's at least a half of the jar, a little more than half. And I've got these nibblers, and I have 9 eggs left. Pretty phenomenal, guys. Pretty phenomenal. I forgot 2 things. I'm making a scrap bag. I should have started long ago because I used 3 of my biggest squash. We peeled them and I never thought, but now I am saving the scraps, and in here wrapped up is 1 tortilla. I ate 4 of the 5. I did fantastic. I think this week was phenomenal. I couldn't be more pleased, and I have such a substantial quantity of food to carry forward into future weeks. It's really setting me up for a really great challenge. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate it if you would do so. It will help me. Like, shares, comments, they help me as well. Plus, I'm just also extremely interested in what you guys have to say, what you think I should make. And for all of those who guessed poutine and oat bread, you nailed it. Definitely, obviously, spaghetti. Squash soup, again, you guys nailed that. I don't know, it was really fun. I think we'll do that every time. I'll say, these are the groceries, and what do you think I should make? I hope you guys have a great week.